All right, it appears to be live. Do the usual testing to be sure and such. Do I hear it? No. Okay, I have to actually have my speakers on. Testing to be sure. There. Okay, it is working. All right, good enough. So I guess we'll do some of this here fake Sagan-y stuff. But I might respond to comments, and I might even pay attention to the chat. We'll see how it goes. Just see where it goes. So I already played the first few minutes of this. So typical, I mean, fake Sagan's always been slow. And when he was doing good ponage, I suppose it was worth it sometimes because he would just, construct even if it was a straw man, it was a well constructed piece of stuff that he would set fire to. Um, but he sort of lost his edge in a way. Anyway, just a whole now, so the first few minutes of this video is just some sort of crack about how I live too nice and I don't know what reality is, and I never met a mean black man, and so I don't know what it is to be a realist or something. It's just a horseshit. I grew up in Louisiana. I've lived in more urban environments than this, and I'm certainly not an idiot. So in the sense that I've seen the out of towners, I've seen lots of Neil Simon died recently. Saw lots of Neil Simon, whatever you want to call them, screenplays, and yes, so I've had a taste of reality, enough of one. So whatever, it's just a stupid, idiotic fallacious argument. The argument from somehow you don't know what's really going on in the real world. Yeah, I do. So anyway, proceeding from there. All right, so the other context is that Fake Sagan did a video with this big title, I'm a flaming racist, or whatever he calls himself. And the whole video was basically diagramming how racism is a little bit pointless just because we're already pretty muddy. Okay, first off, it's hard to find any racial purity in the world anymore anyway. And especially when you get the borders, the traditional borders between like even Asia and Africa, very blurry lines for maybe a billion people are in a blurry line somewhere. Well, anyway, so who cares? And again, I would just argue, who cares? This has nothing to do with making civilization. And I would almost argue that racism, why did they not educate the blacks if the blacks were already too stupid to learn? That's just kind of nonsense, right? Why were they afraid of them even reading the Bible, being literate? It wasn't because their brains were incapable. It's because they didn't want them to be capable. And we used that exploitation to gain huge advances in progress. So we tormented and tortured people to gain leaps and bounds in progress. And yes, maybe through some sort of racial hierarchy, okay, of elitism and fascism by the intellectuals who we know are not very smart. Somehow we could advance our civilization through all this great instrumentality they'll give us. No, they just make bombs, clearly. And like, McCain, the national hero, they'll make money selling bombs. Anyway, just a crock of shit. Anyway, so he made a video talking about how he's this big racist, and then he doesn't really point out how there's any rational grounding for any rational racism, and that clearly conceding the point that culture is really what this subject's about. It's about cultural attachment, not racial attachments.
Books, TV shows, and movies can be very self-referential.
Self-referential. So I mean, the movie has a story. It has players in it that are doing things that aren't at all what I would be doing. So in a lot of ways, they're not very referential. The lead character is shorter than me, and he's lots of things. So they're more bullshit. Obviously we see everything in the universe through our eyes, and that includes the sidewalk you're walking on or the movie you're watching. Your interpretation of what it means is going to be your interpretation. But clearly there's rational interpretations and irrational ones. Clearly. All right. Good evening. I'm toilet ridden. Whatever. Fuck you. I shoot you then. Just, hello and such and whatnot and so forth. Okay, well, that's all useless drivel. Thank you.
They can.
I want to speed this up, is what I want to do.
They can embody echo chambers. Whereas when you get out into the real world, you come face to face.
Okay, so when you get out in the real world, what you're really getting out into is the Borg, the idiocracy. Everybody's doing their walk this way on the sidewalk, drive on this side of the street. Yes, nowadays there's more people than ever shitting in the street, but that's because there's less public bathrooms. But I mean, if you want to go to the Borg, you go out, because that's where the Borg is. The Borg is dress this way, walk this way, talk this way, drive this way, blah, 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 blah. That's the Borg.
That's the way things really are. And getting out into the real world and coming face to face with the way things really are reminds me of a story.
Okay, I really come face to face with the way things really are. And as if there's anything under debate here, but the simple fact that, like I said, I could say something like, I see nothing redeeming in Black culture, in the sense that I don't see anything useful, okay, in that variety of a manifestation, that turning of American culture. Just nothing, no improvement. Just as if I could say putting a bunch of sprinkles and little candy pieces on top of a cupcake, I'm saying that's not an improvement. Okay, it's the wrong way to gild that lily. Poorly done. So I could argue that there's lots of cultures in the world, Muslim and Islamic and the Jewish, Israeli, we could say Israeli culture, not Jewish, that I could say I don't think it's worth shit. I think it sucks. I think it makes sucky humans. Okay, because it doesn't have the same values, doesn't value what I value. And clearly the hood isn't raising intellectuals. It's not raising people who put a high value on knowledge and intelligence. It's raising thugs and athletes and other useless piles of shit. But it's not about race. I mean, it's obviously about the culture, the parents.
Story from about 500 BC.
Oh, who cares? I couldn't care about a story from yesterday in your life would barely be interesting. And something 500 BC really gets incredibly uninteresting.
In the Shakya kingdom in India, close to the border of Nepal, the foot of the Himalayas, there was a...
So this is again, the context is this is the fake Sagan who turned religious, right? And he still calls himself an amateur Christian or some other kind of bullshit. And you're saying, it's almost a shot at Christianity to sit there and say this is somehow a complex philosophy, that somehow God has a very complex plan for you. And it's so complex that you have to gain all kinds of expertise in the Christianity to figure out how not to be an asshole. When clearly what Jesus was saying was, no, it's really easy not to be an asshole. Oh, fuck.
Prince, the son of the tribal chieftain, who lived in luxury in a palace with all his needs attended to. And
like Buddha. Right. And what did Buddha figure out? Oh, he figured out that life is messy. It's ugly as shit. And he went, I need an answer. Why is everything so shitty? And so he has a conversation with Death, and Death gives him the big finish, which is, well, if you don't like it, you can get out. There's an elevator over there called Jump in a Fire. And if you jump in a fire, you can escape. You don't have to come back to the shithole. But yes, there's no explanation for the shithole. It's just the shithole. And we have a special fire escape hatch where you catch on fire and you get to escape. Yes, it sounds like a ludicrous plan. Yes, it sounds silly. It sounds really fucking stupid. And that's the whole point of this conversation is you don't have to have a marvelous IQ to say, that sounds like a pile of horse shit.
He was trained in martial arts, sword fighting, so forth and so on.
And blah, 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 blah.
When he came of age,
I could care
his father
less.
arranged a marriage for him with a very beautiful princess from a neighboring.
Beautiful by what? The father's definition? Yeah, big fat ass and big giant hooters and blah, blah, blah. What if your father's Homer Simpson? Maybe you don't think that the same thing is hot, or whatever. Not going anywhere here. I can just see we're not going anywhere. Race and culture are inextricably linked. No, they're not. It's just retarded, okay? It's just retarded. You think, oh yeah, black people are more musical genetically. Jews are more greedy genetically. I mean, it's just so fucking retarded. Richard Feynman's daughter became a physicist. Do you really think she became a physicist because Richard Feynman was a physicist? You do? Or do you think, genetically, mathematically inclined or something? Do you really think so? Or do you think it's because every time Richard Feynman told a story or did anything, it had physics in it? Which one do you think is the reason why his daughter broke the mold, and became a physicist? Oh, God, people are just so fucking stupid.
And he had a son. And he had everything that a person could want, but there was a lingering shadow of doubt that there was more to the world he wasn't seeing. So he snuck out of the palace. And for the first time in his life, he encountered an old man, a sick man, and a dead man.
Sounds just like Buddha, right? So it's like these stories are just redone, just keep remanufacturing the same fucking. Did he have an immaculate conception? I mean, it was all the same stories over and over again. He found out life sucks, and he said, gee, I guess I'll have to learn how to eat the dead. He just turned into a glib motherfucker, an accepting retard. Because that's the theme of the survival humans. Somehow make this maggot pie edible. I don't care what you have to sprinkle on it, but make the maggot pie edible.
Being carried off to his funeral. And this was an awakening for the prince. And he realized for the first time that.
So, I mean, the prince didn't live in some place where they had, like most of the rich. They usually had a lot of leisure time, so they could do a lot of physics and studying and different things, and they could ask all kinds of interesting questions. So in this rich palace, all he did was play with his Tinker toys. He didn't have any, he didn't have any philosophical training. Is that your argument? Seems to me the rich would have given him some philosophical training.
Existence is defined by suffering.
Sounds like Buddha again.
And he set about the task of solving the problem of suffering. So he sat beneath fig tree, the Bodhi fig tree, for years.
Right. So you believe this. so you're telling this little bullshit story, and you think some guy sat under a tree for years, and he grew a very long beard, and the pile of shit under him kept putting him on a higher and higher plane, and he could see all the people below him, and they were all little ants because he was sitting on such a giant shit pile. Fuck.
Contemplation and meditation. And of course, the person I'm talking about is the Buddha.
Yeah, well, there's a lot more to the story. The Buddha witnessed his father. This is how Death was impressed, right? So Death was impressed because the Buddha was watching his father go to the annual rich people show how you're human after all festival, where they're supposed to be giving away some goodies to the poor. And he was watching his father get all the sick goats and all the sick cows and all the near dead stuff and giving away all the near dead stuff. And he called out his father in public and said, "This is really, really, really stinky." Okay, it's bad enough these people are miserable, have a horrible life. Here you are trying to poison them, you motherfucking cunt. And so Death was impressed. And then Death kept trying to get Buddha distracted from his mission to find out what's the point of all this shit. And so Death kept trying to offer Buddha hookers and gold and all kinds of wonderful stuff. Please don't ask any more questions. If I give you some hookers, will you stop asking questions? And Buddha said, no, I don't want any of it. I just want the answer. What does it all mean? And then Death finally gave him the brilliant answer, which is jump in a fire and you escape the plague. Everybody left behind still is in the plague, but you get out. Just like Christianity, right? You go to heaven, everybody else goes to hell. Oh, fuck. Fuck your, again, this is a morality you can't see a flaw in. It isn't overtly flawed as a premise for a conversation. This silly narrative doesn't automatically just say, why the fuck are we using this for a foundation for a conversation? This is fucking retarded.
I look at your life, Inmendham, and
it's totally irrelevant. Looking at my life is just totally irrelevant. First, I'm a neurotic. That is, my life is the byproduct of a anxiety disorder that has pretty much owned my life for most of my life. So looking at my personal life is not going to be anything that has anything really to do with these fundamental arguments, again, that my own brain realized the kernels of when I was still didn't have pubic hair. I mean, I was still quite young, and I already knew, hey, all the thoughts coming into my head seem to be awful schemy and shitty. I mean, I'm just always trying to say, what's in it for me? That sucks. Even about people I sort of love, I'm still trying to think, how can I get a bigger piece of pie? And that sucks.
It strikes me that you have it pretty easy.
Oh, well, whatever. So again, this, just an amazing statement. You have it pretty easy. Oh, you've only been, on the verge of Poeskian insanity your whole fucking life, but you've had it pretty easy. Oh, God, amazing.
You've got a house set in the woods.
A rented cottage, and you've seen the ceiling. Okay, if the ceiling looks like that, just imagine what the rest of the structure's made out of. It's a fucking cardboard shack. Barely. The roof is barely not falling on me.
In rural New Jersey, that you didn't really work that hard for. You've been on public assistance for a very long time.
So another pile of crap. I've been on a Social Security check. That's right. That it's based on my very limited income as a working person before I went completely insane, which means I have to live on just hundreds of dollars a month. Hundreds. That's it. Oh. So what are you bringing this raggy personal crap up for, you big nose fucking going bald, half fucking impotent, motherfucking wife beating, motherfucking probably animal kicking douchebag? What are you getting into this personal shit for, you fucking cunt? Oh, that's right, because you can't make an intelligent argument, so you have to resort to this white trash argument. You have to make a trolls argument, the dumb, ignorant, racist argument. You got fat lips, right? That's all you're doing, douche. You're just demonstrating you're not the intellectual you claim to be. Ugh. I have 142 IQ. You probably sat for 10 months practicing the test over and over again.
Really nothing physically wrong with you, mentally, well,
Guess what? The two things are sort of tied together. Look up something like vertigo, for example. It's a physiological reaction, and it's real as fuck. And it's as real as seasickness, for example. And you just don't mind over matter your way out of those constructs, those physiological, hormonal bad news. I mean, it's like the ultimate PMS kind of syndrome. And that's just the way it is. And you want to play a game and say you're not really blighted by this when I could go through the list of things my life has been compromised. I spent my life going to interesting places and doing interesting things, all right, and really liking doing that. And I lost all of it. Everything you would cherish about your freedom and your independence was taken from me. And a cunt like you just walks up and says it ain't real. I mean, goddamn, I just want to slap you. You fucking bastard. Get what you deserve, raggy fucking trash man.
you're not schizophrenic. As the judge in your court case said, I think you've got a personality defect, but that's hardly.
That's not what the judge said. Okay, you get evaluated by psychiatrists, jackass, and a judge reads the report and says yes or no. The judge doesn't make some kind of judgment. He just makes a judgment about whether the psychiatrist is, yes, he seems well educated and he seems to have some reason to believe this person has a problem. So again, you can't even get that right, douchebag. Judges make cracks about people just like assholes like you. Judges are assholes. You're in the same category. They're fucking douchebags, long on mouth, short on fucking intelligence.
Disability, at least it shouldn't be. Because I can certainly be accused of the same thing. I think anyone who's honest would admit that I've got some serious personality.
Yeah, you have some defects that, right, hurt other people. Yeah, that's right. You got some real bad defects that ought to have you in a little bit more of a humble condition than the arrogant motherfucker throwing stone jackass you are. Stone thrower. You're basically saying I'm a false witness. Isn't it one of your tenets of your putrid fucking religion that you're not supposed to be doing this false witnessing thing? You have absolutely no knowledge of my personal physiological condition, and yet you're going to second guess the 4 psychiatrists I had to go through and all the other hoops I had to jump through to actually be considered a disabled person. And you're just going to ignore all that with your false testimony as if you have some special knowledge. And the only knowledge you have is that you're a petty fuck. You can't make an intelligent argument, so you have to resort to the ignorant argument.
Defects, and yet I'm a productive member of society who goes out and works. In fact, I do a very important job.
I bet you're not at all productive, to tell you the fucking truth. I bet you've never done a real honest day's work in your fucking useless beer drinking, wife beating, shystery, conniving, goddamn motherfucking life. So anyway, oh yeah, I have a very important job that will leave undisclosed while I go rag on somebody else's personal life. Again, I have more skills than you'll ever imagine having, more knowledge than you have about mechanical things and how things work. Clearly experience way beyond yours, fucknut.
Lately, I've actually been making pretty good money. But, inmendham, I think you had it pretty easy. And I think that while you've reached the same conclusion.
How much you want to bet he'll fuck it up? How much you want to bet? He'll make pretty good money for 3 months. And he'll crawl back to his fucking excuses. His what's the word for that? I'm Irish. I have to drink. Yeah, it's Irish racial genetics. Yeah, sure it is.
That the Buddha reached, which is that existence is defined by suffering. The same conclusion that Arthur.
Yeah, well, again, it's not my conclusion. I've overtly separated myself from Buddha 4 million times and pointed out how the Buddha story is fucking silly. Why would I have any respect for an idiotic philosophy where none of the people who believe in it actually do anything rational in response to it? Life is suffering. Let me make more. Life is suffering. Let's do more. Let's look, people are breeding faster in India than they are in China, for fuck's sake. How the fuck have they figured out that life is suffering? No, they're 40 fucking light years away from that understanding.
Schopenhauer reached the same conclusion that Thomas Ligotti reached.
Again, their conclusions are based on their own little fucking problems. Just like, again, I have nothing. I never mentioned Schopenhauer. I have really little respect for his philosophical perspective. Another idiot like you who sits there and is obviously got some problems with women, especially women that have any power. Fuck you. Fuck you, fuck you. I mean, if I made one video where I said Thomas Ligotti, or I made one video where I said Schopenhauer, you might make this argument. The only person I've ever mentioned is maybe Kevorkian and Mark Twain and Benatar. And again, my review of Benatar's book wasn't exactly glowing. So fuck this. Is guilt by what association? By me exactly saying why I'm not those people. I didn't draw my conclusions for the same logic or reasoning they've used. I have a different philosophical perspective. Mine is based on the evolution and understanding the dilemma of our human condition.
You're not responding to that conclusion the same way Buddha did.
Rather than eating the shit, I'm saying, no, why should I eat shit? That's retarded. Especially if there's some death guy. Well, if there's a death guy, there must be a life guy. Why don't they just make a more rational world? Why don't they just make a world where fairness works and there's deserve has something to do with it and all that kind of crap? Why am I living in this weird world where I get to be born in privilege and that sucker doesn't for absolutely no good reason?
Showing kindness to all living creatures and trying to alleviate suffering where you find it. You seem to spend a great deal of your time trying to create suffering.
Liar, more false testimony. So again, you really are an amateur. I mean, really, it was really easy. Jesus' story. Don't be a lying scum. Yes, you can't do it, right? That bar's too high for you. You have no evidence that I've ever supported anything called making more suffering. There's no quote from me that you could point out to where I'm making more suffering, unless you're saying, well, when we fought the Nazis, we were making more suffering. That was our intention, to make more suffering. I don't think so, retard.
Railing against people who aren't as miserable as you are.
I am railing against people who don't have appreciation for just how lucky they are and just how bad it can be. I mean, not to have appreciation for the fact that your life could be easily twice as worse. That is, I mean, you could have the flu twice as often, or you could have periods twice as often. You could have blah, blah, blah twice as often, really easily. And then it could be 4 times as often, or it could be 8 times as often. And guess what? The universe won't care if that's what happens to you. It just doesn't give a rat's ass. There's no protection against how bad it can get. And you have this illusion that everything's fine because I haven't experienced any of that. I haven't fallen off the tightrope, so this is all fun. Yeah, it's just a fucking asshole's perspective. You're the one who doesn't know enough about reality.
calling.
I'll go to Las Vegas, and because I won the 2 times I went to Las Vegas, I won. I'll just keep assuming it's a place where you go to get free money. Nobody loses.
Anyone who finds meaning in existence stupid.
Yes, you have to be a retard to see meaning in a place where deserve has very little to do with it. Okay, there are no real brilliant fairness rules to the game. Anybody who goes to a game that doesn't have, like baseball, if we take away all the fairness rules and we take away all the deserve rules, right, and we just let people inherit their positions, who's going to the game? Who's going to defend the game? Nobody. And here you are defending a game that's no worse than that preposterous lunacy.
Ridiculing girls who need corrective surgery on their genitalia.
Oh, now he's bringing up the fucking fake, the fuck pouch bullshit again. Again, a story that I am totally redeemed in finding hilariously bullshit. Jesus Freak didn't need the money. He just didn't want to pay for his own kids' crap. So it's just like one of these rich fuckers, you know, who gets in legal trouble, right? Some politician, and he has a GoFundMe page, right? He's a millionaire, maybe even a billionaire, and he has a GoFundMe page to pay for his lawyers because he's a fucking crook. I mean, it was obscene what fucking Jesus Freak did. He just basically said, my kid's not important enough for me to pay for it, so please, why don't you pay for it? I mean, you're already getting taxed to educate my kid. You're already getting taxed to, you know, pay for security for my children and all this other bullshit. So all you single people are already paid out the ass. I'm going to pay some more. I mean, what a bullshit move. How would you feel if your father did that, right? I mean, you got all kinds of issues with your fathers and stepfathers or whatever the fuck you got. You know, what if they evaded paying for your, you know, oh, my kid had to go to the dentist. I want to buy a new gun. So Jesus Freak wanted to buy a new shiny gun, and he didn't want to have to pay for his fucking kid to have her little fuck pouch. Oh, I mean, amazing that he brings that shit up again. And you got duped out of $1,000, duper. Super duper. You gave a rich man your poor man hard-earned money. You're supposed to have all this respect for hard work and earned money, and yet you gave your hard-earned money to a man richer than you who just went out and bought a luxury that you would like to have bought with the same money. Merely because he duped you, idiot. You got fucking duped.
I'm talking about fuck pouches.
Because you're a dumb fuck. Well, what the fuck else was it? Shit. Let's not call a spade a spade. You know, he's talking like he needs to call people niggers and kikes, and yet he's afraid of the word fuck pouch. Amazingly funny.
You're a thoroughly unpleasant man, inmendham.
Likewise, I would agree. You are a thoroughly stupid man. A lot dumber than I thought. I mean, clearly the religion thing was the huge giveaway. Like, oh man, I got fooled. I thought this guy had some kind of brain. And some kind of balls. I mean, running back to God is just so ballless. I mean, that's just such a little dog with its little whiny tail up its ass kind of move. Oh, I have to run back to the security of a world that's controllable. Oh, yuck.
You know, I got to thinking while I was watching your video, because you talked about how your vocabulary is shrinking as you grow older. I got to thinking about how I'm going to feel when I eventually get the news that Gary Mosher is dead. Because I know I'll be alive to see that.
Yeah, some more bold talk from a, you know, somebody that's looking like he's going to be a grease spot soon. You know, whatever. Who knows? But I mean, you know, you're big on this whole genetic thing. Well, the scary part is nobody dies young in my family, right? Except for my sister being the aberrant. You know, I mean, my grandmother's mother lived to be 101. My grandmother lived to be 107. My parents both lived to be 98 and 96. Yeah, I don't know. You're going to be a betting man and say you're going to bet on me dead tomorrow? Yes, I'll be dead, but it'll be on purpose. So then you won't have to think about it because there'll be a good reason for it.
A lot of your philosophy is projection. Remember that ephelistic
blah 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 blah. Yeah, so I projected the whole theory of evolution. It was my projection. It didn't really happen that way because it's a flat Earth, and God made the fossils in the ground just to fuck with your heads. Ooh, because God's a little jokester.
tenet that addiction is one of the things that defines human existence. Well, you're still smoking and I'm not.
So what? So again, this is his badge of courage. All the people, he's still drinking, right? So yeah, you're still drinking and I'm not. So gotcha. Haha. What the hell is that shit? Amazing crap again. You know. And what is the symbolism of it? I'm still smoking because frankly, one of the biggest reasons is the same reason why I'm still alive. Is I'm not going to die the Borg's way, and I'm not going to live the Borg's way. I don't quit smoking because they say so. I'll quit smoking because I say so, because it's my choice. Why should I be making a choice because they say so? Fuck you.
I think you're projecting a lot. Anyway, I got to thinking about how I'll feel when I get the news that you're dead.
All right, so this is somehow on the subject of racism and his defense of racism. Oh, I get it. Yeah, it's so obvious where this is going. Yeah. Oh, fuck.
And much to my dismay, I have to admit, I think I'll be very sad. And I don't know why. Because you really are a piece of shit. And
yes. So it's more false witnessing, even to yourself. I mean, obviously, I'm infinitely missable because I'm infinitely, even though I don't believe in infinities. But yes, it's just a very large amount of interesting. That's right. I have a large amount of interesting. I have a big, giant, interesting halo.
There's no mental gymnastics I can do to get around that fact. I've soul searched.
Who cares?
I feel like I search no
Who
more.
cares? Who cares?
Try to find redeeming quality in you only.
Who cares?
To concede that there is none.
Who cares? Who cares? Who cares?
You seem to be an entirely
who cares? 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 Uninteresting.
Oh yeah.
Fallacious argumentation from the argument from blah 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 blah. Yeah, fuck that. It's a shitty argument.
For whatever reason, I think I'll probably shed a tear that day. The day inmendham died. I wish I knew why that was.
I have to admit, I you know, if I find out I have cancer, I might shed a tear, but I just ain't gonna. There ain't one of you who could die where I'm actually gonna start crying. I'd have to really force it. I'd have to really. Come on, water out of my eye. Come on. No.
Thomas Ligotti.
Who cares?
One of his fiction stories, one of his horror stories, and this will contain spoilers. So if you're very bothered by that, turn the video.
Oh, blah 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 blah. Some more storytelling. So now we've had the whatever, the Reader's Digest version of Buddha, and now we'll have another edited version of Ligotti's whatever fantasy metaphors.
One of his stories is about a collector of esoteric lore and artifacts. A narrator who remains nameless throughout the story, who has an apprentice. And he finds the apprentice rather obnoxious, this fellow that always wants to come over to his private collection and see what new...
Oh, and then the floor starts talking. Beep, beep, beep. You know, the heartbeat. Nevermore. Nevermore.
Trees he's acquired. what have you found this week? Do you have a 15th century grimoire? Do you have a sacrificial dagger from some indigenous tribe somewhere that practices human sacrifice? So what cool stuff do you have to show me? What mysteries can you impart? And he finds this apprentice very obnoxious, but he also sort of has sympathy for him. He says, I've kind of wasted my time, wasted my life collecting these things, and I've really learned nothing. Kind of like Faust says in his tower in Goethe's epic poem. And I have a last philosophy, medicine, jurisprudence too, and to my cause theology, with ardent labor studied through. Yet here I stand in the midst of my Lord, poor fool, no wiser than before. So it's kind of like that sort of thing. And he hatches a plan that to prevent this apprentice from going down the same abortive path that I have.
This video is still playing. I don't know, guys. It's just. Let's see. How many identities has Chris gone through in the last 10 years? Well, it's only about 4. And they're all stupid, dumbest, stupid. Yeah. They're all just really dumb. He should have sticked with the first version. The first version was the best version, I think. But it was secretly a woman beater and stuff, so it wasn't a very good person either. Just so ironic. Somebody who wears his little badges of, I'm an uncontrollable drunk and I can't be near my kid because I'll beat it, and I can't do this and I can't do that. I'm a horrible, nasty bastard. He's going out there telling other people how they suck. Oh, pathetic.
And to save him some misery, I'm going to dissuade him from trying to obsess about the occult, the esoteric, search for meaning where there is none. So
yeah, who cares? Again, this meaning thing is not the subject. The subject is this productive? You basically have a game, okay? It's like a maze game for rats. And you create a motivation in the little animals that says, I have to go from point A to point B. And there's only so much food at point, there's only so much gratification to be had. And so part of the game is not only getting there early enough to get food, but you sort of have to make sure getting there early enough means you sort of have to trip some of these other assholes because they're faster than you and they're going to get there first. And so there's only so much gratification to be had. And we're basically incentivized to really harshly compete with each other in almost a brutal way to gain this gratification, to get our little trophy wife and our pretty food and our comfortable couch, our comfy cushions. And we're making that game. We're watching this horrid spectacle of crap where there's actually a video on YouTube of a little Chinese kid getting repeatedly run over in the street. I mean, just glaring awful. Volcano explodes, the people right off the mountain, and the fucking rubble wave comes by and just rolls over the people as they're running down the street. The tsunami and the people just on their actual houseboat. They're boating on the top of their house, and they'll never be seen again alive. All for the fun of it. And this is, you're saying there's some fucking piece of this crap that's actually worth it. Some little golden moment where you're sitting in the little romantic candlelight, doing your little ego spiel with your babe. Hey, babe, that was pretty good, right? I really fucked you hard, didn't I, babe? Yeah, it's all worth it for that. Oh, please. Puke.
What he does is that in his own studies, he's come across the secret of hypnotism, and he knows how to hypnotize people. And he produces a box that contains a pair of spectacles and a knife. And he puts the spectacles on his apprentice's face. And then he says, give me your hand. And he cuts him a little bit, but pardon me, with the knife.
This is like the portrait of Darian Gray. I think Jesus said in the Bible somewhere, don't belch in people's faces. It was something like that, I thought. Or maybe he just said something like, well, I know the Davidians, the first Christian Jewy thingy people, I mean, I know they were kind of anal about all this stuff. Don't eat things with hooves, and don't walk in the rain, and cut the dirty foreskin off your penises, and do this and do this. I know they were kind of fanatics about that kind of stuff, but some of this stuff was actually a good idea. And yeah, belching in people's faces is just kind of rude. Don't do it. Isn't that a story in the Bible somewhere?
Just a nick, enough to draw blood. And then he
sort of indicates a little bit of something that might be called trash, like white trash. Who would belch in somebody else's face? Oh, see, would that be a sophisticated, educated man? Like if I were to survey all the face belchers in the world, would I find that they had a high IQ or a low IQ? What do you think? If I could do the statistical analysis, what do you think the truth's going to be? That the high IQ belch in people's faces a lot, or the low IQ people do that? What do you think the truth is going to be?
He begins to hypnotize the man. And he hypnotizes him so that when he looks at his own blood, he perceives a vast universe within it. His gaze can pierce down.
This is like the portrait of Dorian Gray or something, right? Yeah, wow, pretty cool. You can see all kinds of worms and stuff, and they're metaphors for all them women you raped and shit, and whatever.
Through the blood cells and the plasma into the subatomic, and he sees peaks and valleys and electrons circling each other, and he just sees this vast universe that is not anything he can comprehend. And then
I'm just hating this story. I don't know about you, but man, this story is just rubbing me way the wrong way. Too many little phantasmagorical unicorns, I think.
The collector breaks the hypnosis, wakes the man up, sends him on his way. He says, "The spectacles are a gift. You can keep them. You can keep the box." Well, shortly thereafter, he doesn't hear from his apprentice anymore, and he goes to the man's house.
So he started this video telling me how reality is where we learn about reality. And now he's telling phantasmagorical stories that you'll never find in reality. Like when you go out for a walk in the park, you're not going to see any of this crap going on. When the hoodlums, mug you, and steal your money, they're not going to be telling you any of these stories.
And knocks on the door, and the door is answered by someone else, and the person asks him, "Are you a police officer, a newspaper reporter, or what are you?" And he says, "I'm neither." So the guy slams the door in his face, and he knocks again, and he says, "Is so-and-so here?" And he's told that he's not. But come inside, I have something to show you. And he's led into the house where his former apprentice used to live, into a room which has been decorated with mirrors. There are mirrors lining the walls, mirrors on the ceiling, mirrors on the floor.
I did that once. And the thing was that they really make you paranoid, when they're above you, because it's just, what if that glue don't, this doesn't work. Ceiling mirrors, you never get past that. That could fall on me.
All facing each other and reflecting one another and creating an infinite regress of reflections. And yet the surface of every mirror is splattered with blood.
That might be a hint that you maybe shouldn't be hanging out in that apartment. That's like Jeffrey Dahmer's fun house, right? I mean, no, yeah, you don't hang out, don't linger, just get your free cupcake and get the hell out of there.
To enhance the experience and see even further into that strange realm. And of course, his apprentice is dead. And the story concludes with the narrator saying that he's haunted by dreams of his apprentice, gouged and slashed. And I think the last line is, "Why won't you stay in your coffin? Why you return every night to torment me?" So that's the story.
So it's the telltale heart then. It's exactly the same story, right? Yes, same story. Just with mirrors and blood instead.
And maybe you're wondering why I spent so much time telling it.
Yes.
Well, because I asked myself.
You're supposed to get to why I'm wrong to point out how your racism is incomprehensibly convoluted and useless. Why bother calling yourself a racist? What's the point?
If it ever occurred to Thomas Ligotti that his nonfiction work, The Conspiracy Against the Human Race, may be found in the bedroom of a suicide victim.
Let's see, it may be found in the bedroom of a suicide victim. Depending on why they committed suicide, of course, like they, right next to them is their brain tumor diagnosis.
And whether that person's face will haunt him in his dreams.
No chance. I mean, really, it is so harmless being dead. I mean, see, you think because you're crazy and have a low IQ. I mean, a low reality quotient. You have a very low reality quotient. So you live in some fantasy world where people go to some sad place when they're dead if they didn't do the right thing. If they didn't tie their shoes in a God knot, they go to a sad place and they have to sit in the sad place forever and ever and go, oh, I wish I would have tied my shoes in a God knot. Yeah, well, that isn't reality, retard. Reality is when you're dead, you don't have any worries. Yes, just no worries. And the trip, as you're probably going through the actual process, like once you get past the physical destruction, if your consciousness could actually enjoy the transition, as many people have attested, oh man, does this feel good. Because all this weight, all these burdens just float away. I am no longer burdened by need and desire, and I have to do this, and oh, it's 10:58. Oh, it's blah, 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 blah. No worries. I feel just awful. I gave somebody no worries. Oh, what a terrible crime I've committed. The horror, the horror.
See, inmendham, you may think that existence is very alienating.
And no, I think it's just stupid and we do it really badly. And as I pointed out in the video you're responding to a lot of times, I kept saying average. The average human, the average whatever white person, the average black person, the average anything, average, average, average. Because if you look at that average, if it doesn't make you a little nauseous to be a member of that club, okay, that this is your group, oh man, if you're not embarrassed, you're doing your life wrong. It's pathetic. Humans are pathetic. Because yes, we have the intelligence to be, to be humble and to realize just how bad this is, how silly it is to force an animal to have 20 children and watch 19 of them die. That's sort of a cruel thing to do. If that's happening in your little maze game, you got to fix the game because that's not a good game to play. Watch your babies die. Not a good game.
Horrifying. But if you really believe that, I don't understand why you wouldn't dedicate your life to affecting what small positive change you can, rather than making it even worse than it is.
So again, more absolute rubbish, as if I haven't fought for the right to die, which is perfectly sensible, like Kevorkian, and I will continue to defend rationality versus your irrational bullshit optimism bias nonsense where you think you're accomplishing something. I'm way ahead. I'm winning. I've amassed a fortune in good stuff. And then you're selling something. You're selling a package that hasn't even killed you yet. Okay, so clearly one can surmise that the last decade of your life is probably not going to be the best decade. All right. And so most people are talking out of their ass in the sense that they're talking when they haven't paid the bill yet. All right. Like you go to the restaurant and you have your meal, you don't pay for it ahead of time and then sit there through the rest of the meal saying, this ain't worth 95 fucking bucks. No, you get the punchline at the end, okay, after it's already been eaten. It's already done.
And I noticed a lot of similarity in Thomas Ligotti's writings to things that Inmendham would say.
Yeah, this is the same old crap. So I'll just say that who's the best pedophile writer? Who's the most famous pedophile writer? And I'll just say, oh yeah, he talks just like Fake Sagan. Yeah, it's the same exact thing. Oh yeah, sounds just like Fake Sagan. I'll just use somebody like what's that Lamb guy, the religious kook, or Hovind. Oh yeah, I've seen some Ken Hovind slop, and it's just like Fake Sagan. Yeah, he's another Ken Hovind. Yeah, I'll put you in that category. How's that? You're just Ken Hovind, a remade Kent Hovind. That's how sincere you are too. You're just as sincere as Kent Hovind. You're just as deep and sincere in your belief in your little fantasy. Oh, puke.
Like in the Conspiracy Against the Human Race, there's this vein that runs throughout that sort of to the effect of prove me wrong, bitch. Fuck me, bitch. Prove me wrong. You think I'm wrong? You think my theories are wrong? Prove it. Ha! Pro tip: you can't. Spoiler alert: you fucking can't. Well,
again, I'm the one who's always advocating that there are things called logical proofs. You don't have to. I don't have to disprove the existence of God by showing a videotape of God not making the universe. I can just make a logical argument of the source. And I can just compare the God theory to all the other God theories and just point out, how do you tell any of this rubbish from the other rubbish? It's all the same evidenced rubbish. And so we know all of these silly stories can't be true, right? So only one at best is accurate. Okay. So we already have low odds that your silly story is anywhere close to reality. And what we have evidence of is that people compulsively make up stories. That's what the clear evidence is that obviously if these aren't true stories, and they can't all be true, then they just must be made up stories. So clearly humans have a compulsion to lie to each other and tell fake stories about fake powers they had and how they were, again, Judas was given the power to heal other human beings. And we are to believe that he denied Jesus as being the Son of God. He was given the power to heal. And yet we're to believe that. Oh, fuck you.
That's kind of a cheap cop out because when you're an anti-natalist and you say to the world, refute me, what you're really saying is this.
No, I'm just saying, make your argument, okay? If you're going to make an argument that our life is made out of something other than a negative condition that we're correcting for, that we're just compulsive fix spots in a sense, make a mess, clean up a mess. Our whole lives revolve around how to solve the problem of our dysfunction. Our family is dysfunctional. How do we solve the problem? Well, we got to get him off the booze, and we got to get her off her, fucking TV repairman. We have to do, and that's all our life is. It's just this stupid, idiotic, competitive struggle to get to some stupid pie, eat the pie, have a fart, and sleep for 25 years. It just doesn't. It doesn't add up to anything. It's silly. It's baseball. It's pointless. It's a silly addiction. It's a soap opera that you're fucking addicted to. And that's all it is. You're like some old lady with a little knitting going, oh, I wonder if Dr. Kevorkian is going to get fucked by Mrs. Blah, blah, blah. I mean, you're just little silly people watching your little soap opera. Ew.
Refute my feelings. Refute my personality. And no one can do that. There's no objective.
Again, that has nothing to do with my videos. My videos aren't refute my personal life. They're certainly not that. I'm not defending who I am ever. I'll self-declare myself. Unlike you, I don't declare myself a racist. I declare myself an asshole, a selfish cunt, okay, who knows to do better and is trying to do better. But that's all I can do is know better and try to do better. But I can't guarantee I'll do all of that stuff because I still am a selfish animal. For fuck's sake.
Measure through which it can be proven that existence is bad, quote unquote. That's just how you feel. That's your subjective experience.
So more nonsense. It's my subjective experience that I have knowledge of other animals. I have knowledge that somebody lives a life where they watched all their kids die, and it was horrific. I have knowledge of, say, some woman in Japan who I saw interviewed, who, when the tsunami came, she was actually holding the hand of her 5-year-old daughter, and the force of the water was so powerful, and it just washed her out of her hand. And I could imagine that for the rest of my life, I would be looking at this hand, and just going, fuck, because I can imagine that's a subjective experience, because I can imagine how I can't come up with any rationale where I could just go, oh, let's just go back to the glib store and buy a new one. Let's just glib along. We'll just limp a little with our little glib stick. No, I don't think fucking so. That's an opinion. And in my opinion, it's an informed and rational opinion. It's rational. It's logical. The opinion where you say, let's go fuck another 5-year-old over, that's the opinion that's fucking psychotic, sadistic, and can only be motivated by some selfish compulsion. There is no reasoning that says, let's make another one so it can get washed away and smashed against some fucking floating shed. Fuck you.
And you conveniently dismiss anyone who feels differently.
I don't dismiss them. I insult them properly and point out how eventually we got to do something about these broken machines running loose. They're fucking can't think right. Yes, you're fucking monsters making monsters. That's not a good thing.
Or perhaps they're insane. Well, maybe, but that can't be proven. You are defending a position that is not falsifiable in any way.
Again, it's falsifiable in the sense that I could just point out how religion is obviously premised on most of the stories, 99% of the stories being false. And they're being sold by all of these believers as truth, as empirical truth. Okay, so clearly that character flaw among your fellow salesmen, that's obvious. You're selling more lemons than real good cars, right? So if we were to think of religious people as used car salesmen, the truth is we can diagnose them as all selling shitty cars. 99% of the cars they sell is shit. The theory is wrong. Their story is bullshit. That's a fact, fake Sagan. And you're the one saying, no, I'm special. Trust me. You're the one with the fucking delusion that there's some reason for somebody to do that. When every bit of evidence points to the fact that, no, you're just another one of those shitty bullshit salesmen.
Inmendham remarked somewhere halfway through what thought number 552 that we have no evidence of the existence of God, and all the evidence that we do have points to God's non-existence. Well, Gary, what a profound statement. I would love to know what that evidence is.
It's logical evidence, as I just pointed out. We know that stories are something people tell. Do I think Ligotti's story of the mirror blood thingy actually happened? Do I think the Poeskian stories actually happened? Do I think the crow actually says, nevermore, nevermore? Do I think any of that crap happened in reality? No. They're called stories. Human beings make up stories. And 99.99999999999% of the stories they tell are bullshit. They're not real stories. They're metaphors and analogies and blah, 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 blah. But they have nothing to do with testimony regarding reality. talking bears, talking fish, angels, demons, holy ghosties. I mean, really, seriously, I have to defend the fact that 99% of holy ghosts don't turn out to be connectable to anything real and are logically provable to be fantasy characters.
Because it seems to me that anti-natalists are kind of stuck on Enlightenment era science, and you haven't progressed much further than that.
Whatever. I have obviously done a brilliant job, in my opinion, of gleaning myself of the nonsense that fools most human beings. And that's why I've actually been able to unify physics. And so, I mean, you can do all this jibber jabbering, but in historical, in the historical context, your little bullshit here is going to look rather silly in the sense that you're somehow insulting the judgment of the person who was clean of your bullshit, was clean of the Borg, and could do the simple math that underlies our existence. It isn't that complicated. Me hungry, me horny. Not complicated.
Because before the Enlightenment, people thought that a lot of natural phenomena were caused by ghosts, spirits, or gods.
And that's what a lot of people believe now. That's all fuck. That's the idiocracy. And it doesn't have a racial profile, So, I mean, all this bullshit, that's not the threat. The threat isn't racism. The threat is stupidity. The threat isn't race. The threat is stupidity. Know your adversary. Know the competitor. Know the black hat. The black hat is ignorance. To go back to a Dickens novel, right? Ignorance and want. That's the horror of the world. Dickens, that's an interesting character, right? Not only in his real life, really interesting events happened to him, critical ones too, to pretty much ruined him in the sense that he witnessed a train accident. People killed, horrible, blah 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 blah, and changed him. You just don't, certain things you see and you just can't move forward. You can't just say, oh yeah, that's acceptable. There's things that are unacceptable.
And as we started to figure out how the natural world works and unlock the mysteries of nature, they pushed God out of the gap, so to speak. And yet
it has no natural function. So again, this idea that somehow there's something connected between nature and some God idea, when that's impossible to find. Okay, it's just fundamentally impossible to find any connection.
None of those revelations disprove the idea of a creator.
Again, the proof is in the character of the story and the fact that none of the elements of the story have ever been, they predict nothing. The Bible predicted nothing. It gave us no information. It didn't predict the microbes discovery, didn't predict the stars discovery, didn't predict the planets discovery, didn't predict a single fucking thing. Clearly God wanted to be some anonymous troll. Okay, and that's all he is. He's an anonymous troll. If God exists, he would be some 12-year-old, wanking in his basement to our confusion. Oh, look, I caused them to be confused. And he's getting off on it. Ew.
I think it's a non sequitur to say, we've learned that lightning is caused by a static charge in the atmosphere rather than Jove hurling lightning bolts. So therefore, the Big Bang happened, and
evolution's a little bit more of a has a lot more rational correlates to it. It's not like something where you just say it's charge and nobody knows what that means. This charge has to do really with motion and distance. So people have to understand motion and distance to understand what charge is and what electricity is and all that stuff. So it doesn't make a real that's not a giveaway argument. The giveaway argument is in evolution, the idea of a piece of DNA replicating itself imperfectly, and that the imperfections, a tiny percentage of these mutations, these Frankensteins, actually end up being more functional. And you're just trying to figure out how to make this big giant green thing more and more capable of figuring out how to navigate the world, stomp on the right stuff, and rape the right stuff and pillage the right stuff. I mean, it's just that's all there is here. And we can clearly see it's in the design of every organism, and it's in our design also. Even as social organisms, we have hierarchies, and we clearly have genocide in our heritage all over the place, like all the simians. The North American Indians weren't living in some pastoral paradise where they had 10 million kids and they all lived and everything was happily ever after. No, they were killing each other every week
for no reason, and everything that is came to be spontaneously just because it just did.
Well, again, that's not the counter theory of some spontaneous. It's clearly the argument is the whole thing evolves. Now, whether the whole universe is evolving, that's an open question. But again, who cares? We know the process of evolution is not guided by fairness and deserve and right and sensible and rational and reasonable and proportional and any kind of high-minded concept. So if there was a God, he'd have to be a flatworm, because nothing who had any appreciation for the value of torment and torture would fucking license this game and say, yes, you can sell that to kids. Yes, I'm all for leukemia. Ooh, AIDS. Oh, that's especially gnarly. Yes, let's make some more of that.
We didn't understand how this particular aspect of nature worked back when, but we do now, hence no God.
It really isn't that simple, but you want to make it that simple. I'm just saying it's clearly a very rational theory competing with your God theory, okay, that we evolved over hundreds of millions of years from much more rudimentary mechanical devices, and no God required, and clearly no God evidenced in that process. There is no magical specialness. We're not possessed by these things. We actually have smaller penises than a lot of animals. Yeah. Obviously, God couldn't be a man, because why would he give us small dicks? Why? Is there any good reason? Think about that for a while. What was God thinking? I'll give all the men small penises, like relative to walruses. We're like 100 times smaller, just to make them feel bad. Yeah, that seems like the only good reason, right? We'll just make them feel bad. Give them a low self-image, then they'll eat too many hamburgers and get big fat like the Amazing Atheist. Small penis syndrome. Yeah, I'm God. That's, by God's standard, yeah, that's a great idea. No, it's a stupid idea. Yeah, really. I'm totally voting against that as the truth. I don't think that could possibly be the truth. I don't think my father would wish me to have a smaller penis.
Does not logically follow, motherfucker. You're missing a step in there.
Saying motherfucker while you're defending your Christianity is, I think, missing a step somewhere. Just I'm just saying. I think you're missing a step somewhere.
Somewhere. This materialism is the prevailing view of the times in which we live.
Yes, cause and effect. Yes. Oh my God, what a horror! Cause and effect. Whoa, what do you mean? No magic? Yeah. Huh. How can you do good rationality without magic? I just amazingly stupid statements in a row here.
This idea that we're nothing but meat puppets, sort of like robots that exist only to execute a program, replicate our own genes.
Again, I've pointed out we're exactly in the opposite dilemma. We have all of this brain that can give us all kinds of new programming, all kinds of more sophisticated perceptions of the value equation. We don't have to be dumb monkeys anymore. We have the option to be clever in how we arrange the truth until, to discover it and to say, what is the real game we're playing and what is the real value here? And, oh, yeah, there's those, sharks over here. Well, we can put a little guardrail up so the sharks can't eat us. And, we can do things like that. So again, we're not limited in our programming, but people like you would like to limit us in our programming.
Like nanites building copies of themselves.
Again, I don't think the average human replicates for any of these reasons. Okay, there's just obviously an association between sex and procreation that is kind of unfortunate, right? And that men have sex. They desire to gratify urges. Those urges don't have anything to do with procreating. I don't think you could point to a single organism, another mammal on this earth that actually engages in sex thinking, I'm going to make babies. So obviously there's no direct connection between the mechanism that motivates the organism and the plan, of the DNA molecule.
But Thomas Ligotti doesn't seem too interested in tackling the problem of consciousness, and I don't think you are either.
There's no problem. Again, it's quite obviously works to have a consciousness because it allows to create reward and punishment. Without the ability to feel or the illusion of sensation, whatever you want to call it, of good and bad, if you can't make a good and a bad inside of us, then you can't create a motivating mechanism that can be educated. You can't create reward and punishment. You can't reward and punish something that can't feel. So clearly, consciousness works as a mechanism.
Ligotti mentions in his book an experiment. I used to know the name of this experiment because I was familiar with it before I read that book. Someone retrofitted a motorcycle helmet with electrodes, which, when worn, it would create experiences, thoughts of a religious nature. Put this helmet on your head, it stimulates this part of the brain, and you see angels. And Ligotti says that to believers, they will just refute this by saying God has made us such that we're capable of experiencing. God put those sensitive areas in our brains to experience it.
Well, whatever. I think that's all a pile of shit. I don't think there's any place in my brain you can touch where I'm going to start seeing angels. I think it's just horse shit. So whatever that story is, I think that's more of this bullshit.
And he finds that a weak argument. But I wouldn't make that particular argument. I think that's kind of a straw man. What I would say is that it's easy to jam a radio signal. But that doesn't mean that the program isn't continuing uninterrupted.
Yeah, it does. Actually, it's going to be completely interrupted. There's no way to, unless you have a directional antenna, you're out of luck.
Perhaps Phineas Gage still exists somewhere as an honest, righteous man. And when that...
Phineas Gage, I think it's the guy who had a big railroad spike run through his head and turned into a fucking wife-beating asshole. Yeah. So is that your excuse? You have a big hole through your brain?
That piston penetrated his skull through the orbital socket, exiting through.
Wasn't a piston. It was a railroad spike.
The back of the cranium. It merely distorted the person that he is.
Yeah, it gave him. Well, to say it merely distorted when obviously he wasn't given a "Do you remember?" test, so we don't know how much of his identity, that is, his memories, he actually lost through the process. They're, just those memories are just gone forever. And obviously, those memories are all part of our inhibition mechanisms. All our prior experiences define our emotional character. And so he lost years of emotional education, in a sense, I think quite obviously, through the experience. So he reverted emotionally back into a selfish 5-year-old, and in a sense, without now even the capacity to relearn, because we all know we can't learn languages when we're older as easily. We can't do a lot of learning because the brain has already shut down the do a lot of learning mechanism. So the rewrite, it's harder and harder to rewrite the DVD as it gets older and older. So he's stuck with a DVD that he can't write new emotional character on, through emotional experiences, humiliations and things like that. And so, yeah, he becomes a very dangerous thing in a sense, because, yeah, he's going to be an uninhibited 5-year-old with power, the power of an adult in a 5-year-old.
Rather than creating a genuine change.
All right, well, I guess we should do part 2, just since I've been doing this. Sorry I haven't been very engaged in the chat, but, you people really don't say that much that, makes much sense, or I could give a rat's ass about, or any of that kind of crap. What kind of idiots in the comments. Talking to fake Sagan in comments. Anyway, so yes, part 2. Let's get this over with. It's only some sort of smaller amount of time. Sorry, this takes.
In Thomas Ligotti's book, The Conspiracy Against the Human Race, he puts forth a theory about why people are so unsettled by objects of art which bear an anthropomorphic resemblance, because Ligotti isn't just a philosopher, he's also a horror writer, so he has insight into this, what scares people. And he says that when we look into the eyes of a puppet or a mannequin, there's a possibility in the back of our minds that it may look back at us and be talking or moving around. And that scares us because it upsets the natural.
All right, so this is like some kind of Freudian shit that I don't know, it's like Freud, it's like every other line, every other sentence should say, okay, that sentence is pretty good. Oh, that sentence is silly. Oh, that sentence, yeah, that sort of makes sense. The cucumber thing, that makes sense. Yeah, okay. But yes, a lot of things don't make any sense.
Order of things. But Ligotti suggests that when we look into the eyes of another human being, we should be equally repulsed and horrified, because when you look into another human being's eyes, you really are looking into the eyes of a puppet. Only instead of a puppet made of wood and fabric, you're looking into the eyes of a puppet made of proteins and amino acids.
Yeah, well, you could say you're looking into the eyes of a Frankenstein who's got a bunch of gears turning that are like basically saying, I wonder if I could sell this guy's eyes, to science and make some money, or, who knows what their scheme is for you. Okay, they're scheming. Especially the women's, they're looking into your eyes and they're scheming about how I'm going to change this fellow. Yes. Scary. Be afraid. Be very afraid.
Enzymes, neurotransmitters, but nevertheless a puppet. There's a Ligotti quote where he says, the sum of the human phenomenon is but the densely coiled layers of illusion, all wound around the central insanity that there can be people at all, when all there really are empty.
Right. So now I've never said anything like that, right? So he's comparing me to this Ligotti guy, like somehow there's some vein of similarity. I would never use all that bullshit poetry nonsense. So, no similarities.
Viewers laughing and screaming as they parade about in an endless dream. And that sounds pretty scary if you don't put too much thought into it. After all, it was written by a horror author.
No, brain cancer seems pretty scary to me. Just me. I don't need that whole bullshit story. I don't need all that bullshit, you know.
But precisely what are the empty mirrors reflecting, Mr. Legati? Because I've never seen a mirror laugh or scream on its own. Now, I don't necessarily disagree with this idea that human beings are meat puppets. At least these vessels that our souls occupy are. They're nothing but decaying flesh on disintegrating bones.
Yes, and our soul is sitting on it for whatever reason. Why isn't our soul just saying, let's not sit on that shit? Why does my soul go just sit on an apple tree or something? Why does my soul go find a better place to sit?
But another philosopher, one perhaps even less known than Legati, and one of my favorites, Guy Ritchie, talked about the difference between life and non-life being maybe a little bit more arbitrary than we realize. He talked about the sea.
Right. I mean, it's just so silly, right? I mean, Jesus. Their feeling is just like not feeling. They're exactly like each other. I mean, so similar. Like if you ever sampled not feeling, it would be just, you know, so much like this feeling thing.
Life of mineral crystals, the life of a babbling brook. He saw life everywhere.
Okay, I mean, just idiotic. It's idiotic to imagine consciousness, okay, in a babbling brook. Idiotic. Because we would just be babbling all day. I'm going to go insane if I have to babble anymore. I can't babble it. I just can't do this babbling thing over and over. It's very insane. I mean, come on. Just not practical.
See, instead of seeing a soulless meat puppet, when I look at another human being,
I see the color of their skin and figure that there's a 10% more likelihood that they don't know that violet is a mixture of blue and red. And therefore, I should be suspect of their capacity to interact with me in a civil manner. Yeah. Okay. Sure. That makes sense. Maybe.
I see the forces of nature which animate human flesh, present in all things.
Yes, all the mammals are animated. All lots of animals are animated. Little bugs are animated. The viruses even are sort of, you know, tumbled into us. You know, oh, fuck. That's what life is. Life is just going bumpity. Yeah, oxygen molecules are alive.
And to call that force anything else besides God would be an equivocation.
Well, whatever. It's just silly. We know what motivates us. We know how the mechanism is built. It's a little machine. It's a machine. Okay, that's what it took hundreds of millions of years for it to evolve into a machine. Oh, geez, and it has mechanisms that cause it to move, like a little fucking tail that wags. You know, it starts with a little tail wagging, and we just end up being a dog with a wagging tail.
So maybe this video really didn't need a second part, but
you made no part here. There was no connection to my video, I don't think. But anyway, fine, whatever. I didn't know you were doing, you're not even doing ephilism. You were doing some sort of Christian argument, I suppose. Some sort of, whatever you call that, a reputation in defense of Christ. Christing.
But I'd like to say to inmendham and Thomas Legati, what I would say to Schopenhauer, if he were still alive, is that you haven't adequately convinced me to be miserable.
And again, that's not the argument. the fact that you're not miserable, I mean, the fact that it doesn't pain you profoundly to watch the people you love tormented and killed and degraded, humiliated through the process. I mean, have their mind taken from them. The fact that you've apparently never had a pet, you know, that you cared for and had to experience its death, and your the fact that it's not there to be your friend anymore, the fact that you haven't had a friend that it pained you to lose, even if they didn't die, they just lost them. The fact that you're willing to sit here on this planet where little kids are just run over on the streets and horrible things happen to good people, and you're comfortable with that, I say is bad on you. Yeah. I'm not pleading with you to suffer. If you just don't have it in you, then you don't have it in you. I mean, if that's not your emotional character, your private emotional character is neither afraid or nauseated, okay, by the events you see, those aren't your emotional reactions. Okay, I'm not asking you to have the emotional reaction. I'm just asking you to recognize that if I show you a picture of a person living in a mental institution for 50 years, tormented every moment, every waking moment, just tormented, tormented, tormented. And then I make the argument that you're not doing anything good enough to justify that price. There's just not a good enough dance here to cover the preposterous cover charge. The cover charge for your existence is an obscene amount of harm and dying that happens every day. And it's obscene amount of horrible anguish, pain, torture, torment. And you're saying, I'm dancing swell and it's worth the $10 million cover charge. That's what I'm just asking you to tell me that that's honestly how you see it. You're worth it. If it cost for you to have your existence, the price was just one kitten and you slowly crushed it over a 2-day period. So it's just one little kitten and you slowly crush it to death over a two-day period. So there's some torture, some horror, some fear, and then death. And you'd say, of course, do it. Of course, I'm worth it. I'm really cool. Yeah, that's not my logical reaction. I mean, you could say I'm just emoting or something, but I'm saying, no, I'm just saying I'm not worth it. I don't want the kitten to suffer for my existence. I think that would be silly. So I can get laid. No, not worth it.
Or to castrate myself and preclude the possibility of
another fake argument that you have to be castrated to wear a condom. A condom is castration. A vasectomy is castration. And again, he says he has 140 IQ, 142 IQ. And yet he doesn't know that it's a preposterously silly, what do you call those? Equation. There's a word for that. Whatever the word is. One of you idiots probably knows. Equivalency. It's a preposterously silly equivalency. Castration and sterilization. Not even close to the same thing.
Of the ever ripping another hitherto non-existent soul out of the void and trapping it in a prison of flesh to experience suffering. Ooh.
So again, he's mocking the price paid. It's just basically saying, ha ha ha, oh, you lost, huh? You got leukemia when you were 7. Ha ha, sucker. That's all he's doing.
We're so fucking emo.
And you're so ignorant and glib, which go right together. Homer Simpson, glib. I mean, every dumb character in the history of mankind. Glib, 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 glib. Glib goes with ignoramus.
At least Legati is making money by doing it in Mendham. You're doing it for free, like a 4chan janitor.
So another intelligent argument. You know, oh, you mean you're sincere? What a sucker you are! You're sincere. You actually believe what you're saying? Oh, just amazingly bad arguments.
And what I find most unsettling is that I know you have a lot of acolytes.
Yeah, burp on them too. Belch on the acolytes. Yeah, belch on. Yes, there's people who have sympathy with my opinions, just as there's people who have sympathy with the amazing atheists, glib, me first, I don't give a fuck about anything but me opinion. And that's the way the world works. And the idea is to try to persuade people not to be assholes. And you seem to not be able to tell the difference, which is really unfortunate.
Most of whom are edgy teenage kids.
The demographics on my videos wouldn't indicate edgy teenage kid as the average viewer. So I'm just saying, I don't think that's true either.
Prone to making rash decisions without weighing the consequences.
Again, the people who type drivel in comment sections, yes, are often young and stupid. You know, people with names like Dick Woodman. Yeah, you know, there's people who you have to wonder, you know, how many years they've been walking the planet. But you know, whatever. Silly commentary made by a silly person. It takes a little bit of time. Well, see, it's the internet. See, it took all of us, all of these acolytes and me. You know, I didn't convince these people of something. I just drew a picture of it and they said, holy shit, that's what I've been looking at my whole life. That's how you connect the dots. I was seeing those dots and I said, I know that's not a smiley face. I mean, I know that's not, you know, and they keep telling me it is. And then I drew it right and they're saying, oh, I get it. Yeah, all right. So I didn't really help much. I help a little. And for some, I didn't help at all. Like I said, they were already there. And, you know, but it takes time in the old days, the days we came from, because, yeah, you didn't have the internet. You didn't have this diversity of thought. All you really had was Democrat, Republican, Democrat, and you really couldn't go anywhere outside of this limited way of looking at the universe of the world. And so a kid now has a huge advantage in that he can actually hear, you know, these anti-establishment messages that aren't just truthers, you know. But that's the other problem, though. There's so many people just making noise on the internet that maybe the internet's maybe it's a downside because they're more likely to, you know, scapegoat and say, oh yeah, I get life is stupid, but it's stupid because people think the earth is round. And it would be so much better if they figured out it was flat. Yeah, it'd be so much better, right? God, everything would be so cool if we all knew the world was flat.
Guess that's all I have to say. I do enjoy our chats and keep it fake.
So again, another intelligent thing to say, keep it fake. You know, the slogans that people go by, you know, keep it fake. Well, you're doing a great job because Christianity is a fake description of reality. Very fake. Oh, so anyway, that wasn't much fun. But it'll have to do. I mean, I did my part. It's just that, you know, his you know, Costello to my Abbott or vice versa. He just didn't do his part very well. In my opinion, I did my role as well as it could have been done. And yeah, he was just pretty lame all the way around, lame. lame effort. And such. So let's see what we can find. I don't know whether I should bother with comments. No, because they're always on different videos and different statements. I mean, this idiot said shit on the fucking. I love this. First minute into the clip, I skipped the last 5 minutes. I skipped to the last 5 minutes. So he watches the first minute and the last 5 minutes, and then he does a review. I mean, you're just like, how can you be this fucking retarded? You ignore the argument made and the evidence presented, and then do a critique. I mean, again, I should think it's a good idea to make more people who use brains that way. I mean, fuck. All right. Let's see if you people have anything interesting to say. So now you may type something I'll actually pay more attention to. I have been watching your gibberish, but yes, it has seemed very gibberishy. My view on fate is there's no bad news, etc. I don't know what that could possibly mean. It's just this silly. Wait till you get your bad news, then I guess, right? you're gonna find out the truth is different. There is such a thing as bad news, and it can be delivered right to your doorstep. Obviously, a guy who doesn't have a relationship with any other humans because he doesn't understand how it would be bad news to find out your wife has cancer. But whatever. Let's see, what else? There was some other point to make about some other stupid comment. What the hell was it? Yeah, no, sorry. You really have to do that sometimes. Just try to get the brain to pop. And it just didn't pop. There was something important, though. Damn it. So now you stop typing. So now that I'm actually paying attention to your gibberish, you don't have any gibberish. I mean, people. Oh. Jason Sylvia. Who the hell is that? Why should I do reaction videos to Jason Sylvia? It's simple, inmendham. A good life lost is one leaving the world better, and a bad life lost no longer torments us. Sounds a little too poetic for my taste, but whatever. How can we be certain that consciousness is the most important property? It doesn't matter. If you don't understand that the only thing that could possibly create value in the universe is a sensation, that without sensations, nothing could matter. Nothing. It's not possible because there's no such thing as bad or good. There can't be any bad or good if there's no feeling thing to feel better. You can't make a feeling thing feel better. There's just no potential to do anything that could possibly be matter, that could have any matter component. It's just all driftwood. I just can't believe people can have the conversations like this, like they're confused. I can't understand what's really valuable in the universe. So you really think if I have a little conscious rabbit floating around in space, and it's surrounded by galaxies and suns and moons and other planets doing nothing, gas swirling and shit, that you can't figure out that the thing that's really valuable is the fucking rabbit. That the suns don't matter, planets don't matter. I could just brush them right into nothing and it wouldn't matter. But the little rabbit, yes, it matters what kind of day it's having, whether it's having good carrot, bad carrot. Do you think civilization is doomed, our civilization? Well, I mean, obviously, I think we're on a course for hell, but yes, we've been on the same road. But the idea is the story is so simple. Us smart people, right, should be capable of explaining it to the dumb people. And if we can't do that, I'm not sure whether it's because they're too dumb or we're not smart enough. But it really should be possible to fix it. We are just a speck. Well, again, it's just so silly. It's just useless crap. I mean, you're saying my feelings are just a speck. My feelings don't matter. Torture doesn't matter. You can torture as many things as you want to, because it all doesn't matter, because they're just fucking specks. Just retarded talk. You fucking sicko toad. Go be sick somewhere else. Fuck you. You fucking idiot. And your drivel. I'm so sick of your cliches. You're just a fucking cliche engine. We're basically like chimpanzees that can talk. No, we can think. We have a volume of facts and information, you dumb fuck. We got the fucking bomb, you retards. We have a ton of information about our existence. We are not just dumb chimpanzees. Oh, it's just so fucking stupid. Yes, we are horny and we are hungry, just like chimpanzees. But that's when the similarities all end, you idiot. And the differences are humongous in terms of what we can experience out of this world, what we can glean out of it. We can see so fucking far compared to a chimpanzee. There could be emergent properties of a higher order than consciousness. Where's any evidence of it? Where besides just complete shit you pull out of your ass? Where do you have one grain of evidence for any other mechanism creating anything that could be called order anywhere in the universe? Order more sophisticated than our neurology. Where is there any evidence of anything evolving out there into anything, okay, more complicated than a checker, than a domino? You're just so fucking full of shit. Oh, you fucking religious kooks. You're just everywhere. It's just religion. I mean, this is just religion. Oh, there's emergent properties built into the moon's orbit around this Earth is fucking creating a bunch of brilliant thoughts. No, it isn't. I'm just saying that if you had to explain this to a kid, you could do it. So we know it can be done. And the only thing in the way is this idiotic Bob Tiffy kind of pussy shitfuck who has built into their brain, they've been programmed to be a wishful thinker. And they just keep grinding wishful thoughts. I wishfully think, and I'm going to wishfully think and wishfully think, and I'll never deal with a real problem ever because I'll just wishfully think it'll go away by magic. Oh, more bullshit. Man, you people are just so full of shit. I just can't. Where do you get this shit? Separation equals illusion. I am best thing and most evil thing. What the fuck could that possibly mean to a rational brain? Oh, I just can't imagine. I can't even imagine brain farting that as a verbal statement, let alone actually typing it. Separation does not mean the creation of distance between two objects. No, it means bibbly babbly bibbly 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 babble. Tim and Eric. Yeah, some idiot called Eric. Have the best descriptions of the universe. Who are Tim and Eric, you fucking cunt? Tom and Jerry? Is that the new modern Tom and Jerry? The cartoon mouse and the cartoon cat really know what's going on. Fuck you. I was pretty much hatched epholist. I mean, I've explained before. I mean, my first conscious moment, my first memory, wearing plastic pants with a bunch of urine in them, I stood up, looked out the window, and said, fuck. That's what my brain thinks I said. I mean, I know I didn't say fuck, but I said something obnoxious. Just, what? What's all this shit then? Didn't make any sense. I already knew this wasn't going to be fun. I mean, I had this innate feeling that this wasn't going to work out very well. I guess it's just I was full of conflicting feelings because I think I had a boner and I was hungry, and so I had a bunch of conflicting feelings, and it was the fact that I'm so conflicted. I think I found that irritating. Will the internet change the world to think more rationally? Well, I just pointed out how the internet's basically teaching people how to be retards and think the world is flat and all kinds of conspiracy crap. Alex Jones is winning the internet war. I mean, people just keep typing shit that just carbonation TV would destroy you in a live debate. Nature is winning. I don't even know what that means, you retard. I mean, I have to. You think something called carbonation TV is a realistic threat in a debate? Uh huh. No, I'm not going to look up Tim and Eric. Why should I take your word on anything, retard? I mean, you show up here, vacuous retard, and I'm, oh yeah, trust me, I know cartoons. It's great cartoon. Fuck you. Well, I just don't know how you have no emotions or another. That's just bullshit, right? We're emotional about our food. We're emotional about our all kinds of things. Everybody has emotions. It's just silly to say, oh, people shouldn't live without emotions. They have plenty of emotions. What they lack is the neural correlation between what happens to them and what happens to other people or other feeling organisms. Those things are not connected. So as long as they don't have cancer, cancer doesn't exist. Nothing to worry about. Well, you're pretty fucking cliche, sick old toad. I don't think I've liked any of your comments, to frankly. Even when you're saying something affirmative, you say it in a way that I find cliche and superficial. No offense, but that's just the way you come off to me so far. Fantastic. Great. I'm hurting your feelings. Then you shouldn't be in the conversation because you really shouldn't be feeling these concepts. These are philosophical concepts. It's like 2 + 2 = 4. You're not allowed to, like, and I could go 2 - 3, and then you'd say, why are you minusing the 3? Oh, 3 is my favorite number, and you minused it. Oh, you're hurting my favorite thing. Yeah, you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to put on your adult brain and be able to be a little clinical. But yes, people are, frankly, this is just very disappointing tripe you're typing. Sorry, none of you people are saying a goddamn thing that in any way is going to challenge what I've said, enlighten me in some way, provide me with some sort of go get him, Gary. You're not even doing that. You're just totally useless. I feel good right now. Well, good. Happy for you. Does it please you that one of us feels fine in here? I just, no, I'm totally uninterested in the subject. It's not what I'm doing here. I'm challenging rational descriptions of reality, perspectives, theories, and measuring the theories to see which one might have more truth value. I'm not here to say, oh, let me take an assessment of all the people on Earth. Let's see how many have twitchy anuses and how many, no, I'm not doing that right now. How many should I feel bad for? How many tragedies should I try to imagine? That's not what I'm doing here right now, asshole. Your logic is everything, doesn't matter, therefore you will always win. Again, more just rubbish talk. You can't make a rational argument, so you just type irrational rubbish. Okay, cool. Not. Oh, that says so much. There is a world beyond yourself. Who are you talking to? Who do you think needs to hear that? Besides, go type that on Fake Sagan's video, okay? You don't need to type it here. Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, stick him. Now you're just going to talk about rubbish. Good night. Jeez, you people are just so fucking useless. Ugh.